I never thought a single day could change everything. That morning, the sun rose soft and golden, and I thought maybe today I would find comfort in my family. But by evening, everything had shattered. The day I lost my husband, I also lost my son's love. After the funeral, I expected warmth, a hand on mine, a soft word, a whispered, "I'm here, Mom." But he turned away. My own child, my boy. He walked out, leaving me in silence, leaving me alone. And that's why the title you saw isn't just drama, it's my reality. I thought family would hold me up. Instead, I fell. But what happened next, I never saw coming. Have you ever reached for comfort and found nothing but distance? That emptiness presses on your chest like a weight you can't lift. I kept asking myself, could my son really turn away from me? Could love vanish in a single unguarded moment? The house was quiet, too quiet. The flowers left by neighbors smelled faint, almost sad. The chair where my husband used to sit looked empty, smaller somehow. Even the TV hummed in the silence. I wanted to cry out, to shake him, to ask why, but I didn't. I could only watch the door close and feel my heart splinter. And yet, even in that emptiness, a tiny spark flickered inside me. It's hard, but maybe there's a way forward, and I'm going to show you how. I remember those mornings, the house filled with sunlight and the smell of fresh coffee. My husband would hum softly, trying to whistle, and my boy would groan, "Mom, the eggs again?" And oh, how we laughed. Birthdays were the best. The smell of cake, paper hats, cards with scribbles and misspelled words. He was so proud of every little drawing he made. And I was proud too, always. Even then, there were tiny cracks. A harsh word here, a silent shrug there. At the time, I laughed them off. Boys will be boys, I told myself. But maybe, just maybe, I should have noticed sooner. Evenings were quieter. My husband would read, my son would scroll on his phone, and I would sit, waiting for one of them to reach out. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Each time, I felt a tug of worry. I can still see him, stubborn and small, insisting he didn't need help with homework, then secretly smiling when I peeked over his shoulder. I thought we were fine. I thought love like ours could survive anything. But life has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. Those tiny cracks, could small misunderstandings really grow into something that might tear us apart? And those mornings, they were real, warm, happy, but fragile. So fragile, I didn't know the storm was coming. The day that would change everything. The funeral. Oh, I'll never forget it. The church smelled of lilies and damp earth, a strange mix that made my stomach twist. People whispered, some cried softly, others held their heads in their hands. I felt like I was walking through a dream, a haze of black clothes and bowed heads. And then there he was, my son, my boy, standing there, quiet, distant, not holding my hand, not a single glance. I expected him to reach out, to lean into me, to share this grief, but he didn't. He turned away. He left the pew, shoulders stiff. I stood frozen, watching him go, my heart breaking in ways I didn't know were possible. Why? I kept asking myself. Why would he do this? Was he angry, confused, or had I failed him somehow? The world felt surreal, the coffin polished and still. The preacher's words echoed hollowly. Everyone else offered condolences, warm words, pats on the back, but none of that reached the gaping hole in my chest. When we returned home, the silence was unbearable. The flowers from neighbors drooped slightly, as if mourning with me. My husband's favorite chair stood empty, the blanket he loved folded neatly on the couch. And my son, he didn't speak. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't even sit near me. I wanted to shout, to cry, to grab him and demand, why? But I didn't. I could only feel the sharp sting of being left behind, of realizing that the person I thought would hold me up had walked away. The house felt colder that night. I tried to sleep, but every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the streetlight outside reminded me of the absence, his silence. And still, even in that darkness, a question hovered, relentless. Could our bond survive this? Could love return after such a blow? Or was this the beginning of a long, lonely chapter I was forced to live alone? Maybe one day, somehow, he would come back. But would I recognize him when he did? The house was quiet, too quiet. I sat on the couch, staring at the empty chair where my husband used to read. The clock ticked slowly, each second echoing in my chest. Why had my son turned away? I replayed every moment, every small disagreement. Had I done something wrong? Could I have fixed it? Tears came unbidden. Memories of him as a child, the giggles, the scraped knees, the whispered secrets haunted me. I had loved him so deeply, and yet he had left me feeling invisible. I remembered the mornings, the laughter, the bedtime stories. Could all of that really vanish into silence? Could a bond built over decades really break in a single moment? The fear was sharp that he might never come back, that the closeness we once shared was gone. And yet, in the midst of this fear, a fragile spark glimmered. Maybe I wasn't completely alone. Maybe there was a way to mend the cracks. Maybe love could find its way back, even through silence and distance. I didn't know how, but I knew I had to try, not just for him, but for myself. I wouldn't give up, not yet. I couldn't stay silent. I had to try. I called him first. His voice was polite, clipped, distant, no warmth. "Hi, Mom," he said. That was it. No questions, no concern. My heart ached with every word. I tried again the next day. I brought him his favorite coffee when he came over. He smiled, small, quick, almost involuntary. But he sat at the far end of the table, arms crossed, staring out the window. I waited, hoping he would reach for me, even just a touch on the hand. But he didn't. My chest tightened. The distance between us felt like miles, even though he was only a few steps away. Why was it so hard? Why had the love I had counted on for decades vanished in a single afternoon? Days passed, and I tried small gestures, leaving notes, sending texts, cooking his favorite meals. Sometimes he responded with a short message. Sometimes he didn't respond at all. Hope and heartbreak tangled together, leaving me dizzy. One evening, I saw him glance at the family photo on the wall, the one with his father smiling and him holding his tiny hands in mine. His lips trembled slightly. I wanted to run to him, to hug him, to tell him everything would be okay. But he left before I could. The door clicked shut and the silence came rushing back. I realized something. I couldn't force him to feel what he didn't want to feel. I couldn't drag love back when it had turned away. And yet, every small sign, every fleeting glance reminded me that maybe, just maybe, the bond wasn't completely broken. Maybe, with patience, with care, it could be restored. I didn't know when it would happen or if it would ever happen, but I decided I would not give up. Not yet, not ever. I sat by the window one evening, the sky a soft wash of pink and orange. The house was quiet, too quiet, but somehow peaceful. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to breathe. I thought about all the days I had spent trying to reach him, chasing a warmth that kept slipping away. And I realized maybe I had been looking in the wrong place. Maybe the love I needed started with me. Memories came rushing back. This time, they didn't sting as sharply. I laughed quietly at the silly jokes my husband used to make. I smiled at the mischief in my son's childhood eyes. And for the first time, I felt a strange lightness, like carrying grief didn't mean carrying it alone. I cried too. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but they weren't only for loss. They were for hope, for understanding, for acceptance. I forgave myself for what I couldn't change. And somehow I felt forgiveness reaching toward him too. Could he still come back? Could our bond be restored? I didn't know, but I realized it didn't matter as much anymore. What mattered was that I could stand here, whole enough to face him when or if he returned. And then it hit me. Life hadn't abandoned me. Love hadn't vanished. It was still here, in me, in memories, in resilience, in the small spark that refused to die. I smiled softly. The storm had passed, and though the clouds lingered, the sun was slowly breaking through, and I knew I was ready. But little did I realize the next challenge was closer than I thought. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, the weight in my chest began to ease. I didn't know if my son would ever fully open his heart again, but I learned something important. Even when love seems to turn away, it can leave traces, small signs, moments, memories that remind us it's still there. I walked through the house, touching the photographs, the little mementos of our life together. Each one whispered stories of laughter, of care, of a bond that had been tested but not completely broken. And then it happened, not with fanfare, not with grand gestures, but in the quiet moments. A glance, a soft word, a hesitation before leaving my side. Each small gesture was like a ripple in water, hinting that maybe one day he would come fully back. I realized that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's cautious. Sometimes it leaves us aching for connection, just to return to us when we least expect it. Ah, I smiled softly, remembering my husband, remembering the laughter of years past, and finally, I felt a sense of peace. Not complete closure, life rarely offers that, but enough to know that love, patience, and hope can survive even the darkest storms. And as I stood by the window that evening, the sky tinged with gold once more, I whispered to myself, I am ready, ready for whatever comes next. Because even when we lose the ones we love most, even when silence surrounds us, the heart can find its way back. And perhaps one day we are never truly alone.